Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of the Sunday Sketch. I think I'm just going to keep it to Sundays now, and I like not necessarily having to do it at a particular time. So it is going to be on Sunday for sure. But, I got to do like house chores and stuff like that. So, normal people stuff. Um, so, anyway, I'm just going to get started here on a new sketch. And I don't know if y'all have seen Beauty and the Beast yet, but I saw it, and it is pretty amazing. Now, it's not. They do some things from the animated movie, and they do some things based on the screen or on the stage production version of it, right? Um, which I think works in their favor in most cases, but not in others. Um, and I'm not going to spoil, specifics or anything. But anyways, so I'm going to do a sketch of the Beast, I think, because I saw the movie. I loved the movie. There are some things, would I change some things about it? Maybe. Um, but I don't think so, honestly. I think it was really well done, and I think for their objective, right, which was to produce a pretty straightforward musical movie, I think they accomplished that really well. And I don't know if you know, um, but they hang on. They did three brand new songs for this movie that were not in any of the other previous versions, like I had thought. Because I initially I thought that they'd brought some in from the stage play, but it's been so long since I've seen it. So in any case, it was absolutely amazing. The music that they created for the movie, and you can find videos for it on YouTube or find it on iTunes and stuff. The album is out, but Days in the Sun was great. It definitely, in my mind, it beats the hell out of Human Again from the animated film, which was only in the special edition. But I think Human Again was definitely more lighthearted and cartoony, whereas Days in the Sun really made you feel, what these characters are going through, and it made everything just a little more. I want to say a little more human, even though there are a bunch of household appliances and stuff. But it really brought it home, like what Belle, the character, means to everybody. And I'm sure most people out there know the story, so it's not huge spoilers. But I think that Days in the Sun was a great musical number, and I think that the song Evermore, which is sort of the Beast's lament, I think that was amazing as well. And that song has kind of taken over my brain at the moment. Because it was just, oh my gosh, I cried. Of course, I knew I was gonna see the movie. I am super biased. Let me just clarify that right now. I am super biased. Even as a kid, Beauty and the Beast was my all-time favorite Disney movie, and it stayed there up until Big Hero 6 came out. Which, long time before Big Hero 6 came out. And now I think it's probably, I don't know. I tend to put them in different categories. So, like, there's the live action Disney movies, and I tend to categorize those a bit differently the um, from the animated ones. Um, so I think Big Hero 6 is definitely still up there, but But as far as like live action Disney, this is it. This is it. It used to be Into the Woods, and before that, I think was probably Mary Poppins because um, Julie Andrews is just the bomb all the time. Um, but this one, just fantastic. And it's nothing, they don't do a whole ton of new stuff. If you've seen the animated movie, the story will be really familiar, but they do enough new things that I think it's definitely worth a watch just out of curiosity because it is kind of just a retelling, but they change some of the details and they do enough new things with it, um, that I think it stands on its own. I do have my criticisms with it, as an avid classic Beauty and the Beast fan, as an avid animation fan. Um, I definitely compare it to the original animated movie, but I think everyone will. But I think this one was just so good. Um, and again, the song that just blew me away was the Beast had a musical number, called Evermore. You can find that on iTunes. Find it on um, find a video for it on YouTube. I'll link it. It is so good. Um, Definitely recommend it. You don't have to see the movie, but you owe it to yourself to at least give it a listen. And Josh Groban did a version of the song, which I like, but it's not in character. And Josh Groban has that his almost uh, trademark beautiful vibrato that I feel it just didn't give me the same emotional content. I feel um, that's the thing about when people sing songs from movies. Um, when they're singing it in the movie, they're also acting and they're also adding um, characterization. Whereas sometimes singers, like in the original, you had Angela Lansbury killing the Beauty and the Beast song, and then you had Celine Dion doing a pretty good cover for the end credits. Um, but it didn't carry Celine Dion's version of the song. Just didn't feel as weighty. I guess it didn't feel like it didn't feel connected to the movie. It felt like a cover, you know. Um, and I think that's really my issue with the Josh Groban version. Not that he didn't also kill it, because he's Josh Groban. It's what he do. Um, but I think uh, he didn't have, because he wasn't doing character work. I think he lost a lot of the emotional content that uh, brought me brought me to tears in the movie. Just not a lot of tears, just a little. Missed it up a little. I was like, oh no, sad fluffy man. Um, it wasn't like I wasn't bawling or anything. Um, but it moved me. And you know what else? Um, the movie that did actually like affect me the most, I think, is I don't know if anybody's seen Passion of the Christ. It's kind of old now, um, but it is truly difficult to watch that movie, even now, even after all this time, and after all of the classes I've taken that have been like, oh, this is compositing work, this is that. Um, Even now, there's this there's this feeling, it's a sort of repulsion, almost, that just, you don't want to watch what's happening to Jesus in the film. Um, it's hard to watch, and I'm pretty sure that was the intent. Um, and again, it's kind of an older movie now, but as far as movies that have had a profound effect on me emotionally, that's definitely one of them, and it still is to this day. I'm never gonna watch that movie again, um, just because it's so difficult to watch. Um, it's you kind of have to psych yourself up for it. I feel, and I think that's great. I think that's exactly what it needed to be, um, for the purpose of the film. But it's on the other hand, it is kind of a bummer when no one wants to watch your movie because I'm I'm probably not the only person who has this issue with the movie. But when nobody else wants to be involved in your with your product or whatever, you know what I mean. It's like nobody wants to see that, and then you're like, oh well, I put all this time and effort and money into making this beautiful movie, and then everybody or people are really turned off by it and turned away, um, from it because of that. Because it's just hard to watch. Um, anyway, that's not really related to what I'm doing, um, but it just kind of popped into my head. I'm like, man, when was the last time I really got like physically had issues with the movie, like either crying. Of course, I cried at Les Mis, but if you don't cry at Les Mis, I'm pretty sure you have no soul. So there's that. But I think it's interesting to think about the things that affect us and move us like that. It is to me anyway. But I was super into anthropology in college. When I was at a 4 year college, and not like a specialized, like I'm in art school now, but that's like way more specialized and stuff. When I was taking like general education classes and stuff, I was like super into anthropology, um, and just learning about different people and how they, who they are, why they are the way they are, stuff like that. Um, so that's I think it's interesting to think about what makes people react and respond the way they do, and I think it would help. I think it kind of helps me as a creator to be aware of that as well. Um, his eyes are a little bluer than that. I made it too green, but that's what tonal correction is for. I'll just slide that over. Oh, that's yellow. We want to slide that over in the other direction. Desaturate it a little. Oh, that's another thing. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but because he's got really light blue, that's a little too. There we go. And then brightness up a little. But I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of movies, especially when they're trying to be like realistic or whatever, they desaturate so many things. Um, whenever they're trying to go for that like gritty realism kind of thing. Like even if you look at like the trailers for the new Power Rangers and stuff, and like some of the promo materials, the Pink Ranger looks really blued out in some of those pictures. And not saying that the lighting doesn't call for it or whatever, but it's the Pink Ranger. If it doesn't look pink, then you're doing something wrong. But that's just my humble opinion. Doo-doo-doo. But anyways, yeah, if you haven't seen Beauty and the Beast, you should. And well, if you haven't seen it and you like that sort of thing, then you should see it. Um, if you don't like that sort of thing, then that's fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. Some people, I know people, they just don't like musicals in general, as a rule. Now, there are some exceptions because I definitely introduced one of my friends to Repo, the Genetic Opera, and he kind of liked that, even though he was like, in general, like not a fan of musicals or anything. So there are always exceptions, and I would say at least have an open mind. This one is, you know, Beauty and the Beast is definitely a straightforward Disney um, movie musical that is pretty much what you expect of the genre. Um, so if you don't like that, don't see it. It's not a big deal. But, and there's a cat. Hi, cat. How are you? What are you doing? I can't draw if you're gonna. Okay. Thank you. I have a cat. It climbs on my desk sometimes. Just in case you were wondering, for like the two people out there who wonder why I spontaneously burst out into "Hello, cat." You know, I should be doing this in color. I have an instructor who he keeps telling me, you know, don't use black. So I'm gonna try and do these. Excuse me. Do these lines in color. Do a dark brown instead. There we go. And then his nose is very interesting. Because, like, it's all smooshed up and stuff. You know, another thing that kind of is weird about Beauty and the Beast in particular is I feel like, and nothing against, you know, because he's supposed to be French, nothing against French people, because there are definitely some beautiful French people, but he is probably, you know, the Beast is probably one of the least, you know, attractive Disney princes ever. You know, I mean, you had Eric, and I think Eric was fine. He wasn't anything to write home about, but he was fine. He definitely looked the part of, he kind of looked like a Spanish nobleman, I think, or maybe, no, I want to say Spanish, maybe Portuguese or something, but definitely one of those like heavy sailing kind of peoples. He definitely looked the part for that. Might have been like Greek or something like that. That would be interesting, but probably not Greek, just because I don't think he had the skin tone for Greek. But I feel like the Beast, and I wish, I wish they'd told us like his name. They never tell you his name in the animated movie and the live action movie. It's just he's just the Beast, and then he's the prince. But do they still call him the Beast? No, they probably call him, well, Your Highness, for one. But you know, they probably have some other name for him as well. And I'm like, what is that name? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Well, yes, I would like to know. Stop being a tease about it. But in any case, I think he had a really weird nose when he was, you know, when he got back to being human. I think his nose just looked really weird to me. I wasn't into it. Not that his nose looks less weird as the Beast. But weird noses, man. Alright, so I'm going to sketch a bit. I'm going to throw some tunes on, you know, as one does. Let's see, where is my iTunes? Should probably get more music. I've been using a lot of, you know, a lot of the, like, YouTube what do you call it? Like, non-copyrighted music or free, there's a rule for it. Anyways, gonna turn that on. I'll get some more music soon. And we're just gonna sketch. As soon as the music actually plays. There we go. I've decided that I'm not really good at painting fur just yet. Haven't had a ton of practice with it either, so I think I'm just gonna keep it to a sketch. I did want to add some color just because I do enjoy that sort of thing, but it is just proving to be just slightly above my level just yet, or either that or I just don't have enough of the base work down yet. We'll find out. Just gonna do more rough sketch because I think maybe that's what I might be missing. He's got his hair pulled back because he's got that beautiful blue coat on. I absolutely love that costume. It's very French. But it also is this really just stunning bright blue and everything. And you can look at the, of course, on the poster he's got that because it's a very iconic look for him. But they've added a whole bunch of just beautiful embroidery to the costumes in the film. And I think it really, like the original had some line work to it, where it, looked like embroidery, but it was really just a bunch of yellow lines. Like here, when you do a live action, when you have the option to, actually go in and make everything all beautiful and delicate and, everything you want, that when you're cartooning or just drawing, sometimes you just want the idea of it, because going into all of that detail can be not only tiring and time consuming, but sometimes you just can't get the look right. Like here, I'm just doing the kind of impression of a hairline that is created from just a collection of lines. It's not an actual hairline. And of course, the Beast doesn't really have a hairline because he's kind of covered in all of it. But you get what I'm saying. It's more the idea that the hairline is there, the idea that the embroidery is there. Whereas when you do a live action one, you can actually physically put the embroidery there without it messing up your visual style or being a pain in the ass to animate, because you have to animate all that embroidery, which, let me tell you, no thank you. I've done some animating, a little bit of 2D animating, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. But the more complicated of a drawing that you do, the more the more time consuming and the more difficult the animation becomes. And I mean, any animator can do that. And I mean, I'm sure any of you who have tried to animate something can attest to that. But it becomes very difficult to animate real complex characters, which is why a lot of the animation that you see nowadays, very simple characters. They're all like geometrically based, and that's it takes less time, less effort, and by sort of by association, less money to animate characters that way. Which is, then becomes how we can produce cartoons like Justice League Action and, even like, oh man, I think Justice League Action is one of the more complex character designs in cartoons that I'm seeing lately. Because ever since Adventure Time, I feel like things have gotten less and less complex, cartoon wise. And I'm not blaming Adventure Time necessarily, but I kind of am. I do love Adventure Time, but the styles just keep getting simpler and simpler. I grew up with Batman the Animated Series, where back in the original run of it before they did the art swap in like I want to say early 90s, like first half of the 90s, maybe. Yeah, because I don't think the show lasted that long. But they did this art style swap where they simplified and geometryified everything, and that's when you get the Joker with the weird black uh, um, eyeballs and the little white irises, and Catwoman becomes completely monotone and angular, where she used to be all curvy and have these great blue eyes, and all the acting's the same, all the writing is just as good, but the visual style is it was definitely more efficient, and because of that, they were able to do more things with action sequences. But I do miss the the older version where like every single shot looked like a friggin' painting. It was absolutely gorgeous, but it was because you had those great Gotham cityscape backdrops, but it was probably very difficult and costly to animate all that. Still, though, those paintings of the Gotham skyline, it's just so beautiful. So anyway, that being said, I would not want to animate the Beast's jacket if it had all of the beautiful embroidery that it has in the live action version. Now that I've beat around the bush to death, let me just come out and say what I was drawing that comparison for in the first place. Yay! And then his hair kind of does a thing here. He's got. I don't want to say it's a. I feel like this is just where his hair pulls back to, because he's got this his hair because of how his hair is styled in the scenes where he's got it pulled back. He's got this like. Well, he's got his hair pulled back, so it makes this like deep swoopy thing. So I'm pretty sure that's all that this section is here. Is this deep swoopy thing that his hair does. Which again, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know, just by looking at it, I don't know how much makeup work was done and how much of it was actually just CG, because I feel like in either case that's a lot of work. There are definitely parts where it's CG and you can completely tell that it's CG in parts of it, but then they do these close-ups and you can see the guy's face through it, right? And then it's like, well, maybe he actually did sit in a makeup chair for a while to get that to happen. I don't know. I would definitely be interested in seeing those interviews talking about whether or not he was in a makeup chair, because that would be very interesting, because it's either he did some level of heavy makeup or else you have some real probably tired compositors who got done with that movie and were like, whew, okay, moving on, next project, because that's how you gotta be sometimes. But not only compositors but like 3D modelers, because you got to get all the hairs and stuff. And there are programs to make hair easier to model for sure, but then you've got to go in and animate all the hair. Um, they might have done some sort of motion capture on his face. So, anyways, but again, I'd be real interested to see how they pulled off everything that they did. It's actually starting to look like the Beast a little. I think I curved his beard back too far, though. I say beard, but it's kind of this huge mane thing that just happens to go down past his chin. There we go. And then from here, it's just, let's see, I think they brought his collar out here. Yeah. Looking at some good old reference material. It's your best friend, because I would not want to draw this from memory. Whoa, where did I go? Where did I just go? There we go. There we are. Found us. Found me. I don't know about you guys. Anyways, drawing something this complicated from memory would just be, I probably wouldn't do it justice at all. And then his hair comes back, and then his hair kind of does this great cascading, and I'm always, oh my gosh. He just has this Fabio hair going on at the shoulders. I'm a little jealous. And again, for sketches, gotta kind of keep it loose and just layer on some stuff. And then the rest of this is just all hair down here, because he's, well, he's a fluffy, fluffy man. So I'm just gonna do like that. And I think that's probably as complex as this sketch is gonna get on that front. I'm gonna define his beard and like where his neck is just a little bit more, because when you're covered in hair, it's easy to lose features and stuff. So I'm gonna put in some darker lines to just kind of define some space. Just a little bit more. And that's, the original lines weren't quite that way. Ooh. I want to add, so his nose, the bridge of his nose is actually really, really wide. Which, for some reason, is like my favorite part. Is his crazy wide lion nose. I think it's my favorite part of like the whole character's design. Originally, the Beast used to be more like pig-like, kind of like the classic interpretation of a lot of like werewolves and stuff. They used to be more like these crazy wild boar man hybrids. But then eventually, became the things we know and have varying opinions on today. I was gonna say no and love, but werewolves. Some people just don't like them. It's fine. I wouldn't want to meet one in person. Well, okay, so if he wasn't in his wolf form and trying to eat me, then I'd be okay with meeting a werewolf in person, because then he's just like a normal person during the day. Um, but I would definitely not want to meet one during a full moon, because that's just asking for trouble. Um, but yeah, during the day would be fine. now that I've actually thought about it, man, and I feel like that's one of those things that like people have sleepovers or like a drinking game, and you're like, would you rather do this or that? Would you rather like have your head slowly sawed off with a rusty spoon, or I don't know. I have fairly messed up friends. Just occurred to me that's not a thing that normal people would probably talk about with rusty spoons and stuff. But you get what I'm saying. It's one of those. It's one of those games that we play as people. Like, never have I ever, robbed a bank. I have not. So, if any of you have, put your fingers down right now. It's interesting though, because I think we do that mostly as like an icebreaker, but also we like learn about the other people that we're hanging out with, and then that like becomes a whole thing. And then sometimes you just don't get invited to parties after that, because they know too much. And then he's got that horn back there. They actually did really cool things with his horn in the live action one, and they're very like ridged, and more like, they remind me more like dragon horns, where like like in Maleficent or whatever, or like anytime there's a dragon with horns, really, they seem to have these like ridged plating kind of things going on. And I honestly feel like if he was turned into a beast kind of, all at once, would he even have all those ridges? Because I'm pretty sure the ridges form on animals that have horn ridges, when the horns, grow, right? They like do some molting thing, and then they have more horn after that. But I don't know if he would have gone through that. So I feel like maybe the horns should just be smooth all the way across. But visually, I think it is more interesting to look at for him to have horn growth apparent. And again, just going to define some spaces there. This horn's going to sweep back and come up right about there. He's got these big old sweeping horns. And it's probably fine to leave that line there, actually, now that I think about it. His horns have these crazy ridges, it's fine. One thing I did appreciate was, like, they didn't do that, like, whole Belle, it's me kind of thing, because that, in the original, didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm like, you just saw him transform in front of your very eyes. And in fact, the not CinemaSins, but the, oh shoot, who are those guys? The Honest Trailers guys did one for the animated Beauty and the Beast. And they mentioned that, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things about the original that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And they've managed to fix a lot of them in the live action one. A lot of them, honestly, like that. A lot of things make a lot more sense than they did in the cartoon, and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that, because the suspension of disbelief is one thing, but sometimes it's just like, really, guys? So they didn't do that here. And I think part of that was probably taken from the stage play because they changed a few things there too to make it make more sense and be less, less Stockholm syndrome-y and whatnot. But the basic story is the same. I definitely appreciate that. Not trying to redo it. Like, oh, I don't know if you guys saw Beastly, but that was not a great movie. It wasn't even really like, I don't know. I saw it with my mom and sister because I was like, sure, Beauty and the Beast is my favorite, and this is like some sort of weird, retelling. And I was like, at the end of it, I'm like, that was really lame. Like, they did better with Cinderella when they've tried to do like modern retellings and stuff. I think Cinderella worked better, but they've done that so many times. Whew, so many different Cinderellas. Beauty and the Beast is just not quite the same without the I don't know. It's not quite the same. And I don't feel like it works as well. But there's plenty to nitpick about that attempt at a modern Beauty and the Beast. I think it's sometimes you just want to stick with the classics. Like you can't do a modern retelling of like Les Mis because it's like a period piece, Not saying Beauty and the Beast, not saying that Beauty and the Beast is a period piece necessarily, but they do, at least in the live action, they do make it a lot more. They put a lot more effort into being like, no, this is France. This is like old-timey France. Because I think in the cartoon you had Lumiere mention that it was France, but then the Eiffel Tower wasn't built until whatever. And go watch the Honest trailer; it's fine. But or Cinema Sins, because they do a thing about that as well. But go watch those, and you'll see they go into exactly what I'm talking about. Because, but anyways, so the new movie, it's nice that they make an effort to make it, France for all intents and purposes. And I think I made his forehead way too wide because I'm pretty sure. Whoops! What is happening? What is happening? Oh, I see. I'm on the wrong layer. That's all right. Because I don't think his forehead is actually that wide, so I'm going to bring it in. Bring everything in just a little bit. Get that eyebrow under control. There we go. That seems much more reasonable. And then he's got this, like, the that's kind of where his forehead ends. Oh, you know what? I actually probably should leave that in there, but let me do it right. That's better. I like that better, except for that. There we go. And then he's got this kind of and it goes back and up and all over the place. I think the actor that they got to play the Beast looks pretty spot on from the a lot of the actors, and I'm sure you guys have seen the posters and stuff about Kevin Kline and Emma Watson, and the cast is just great. And Luke oh crap, what's his name? Luke Evans. Luke Evans, who was guest on it. He did a fantastic job as guest on as well. But I think the guy that they got to play the prince, I should say, I think he definitely looks the part. And I know I commented about the Beast being like the least attractive Disney prince, but I think I don't want to say that I don't want to be like bashing the guy who played the Beast in the movie, because I do think he did a really good job, and I do think that he definitely looks like like an attractive, probably or possibly French guy. Um, that being said, I think he looks way cuter with shorter hair than he does with the long hair. The person, I mean, Dan Stevens. I think he looks way better with short hair, but the style was definitely was a French style. It's just he looks like kind of like a dork in the posters. All right, I think I've rambled enough, and I have a sketch of the Beast's face. So I may color this later. I don't know. Again, the hair is proving to be challenging, so I may just leave it like this. We'll see. If I do decide to finish it, then I will definitely um, definitely do a video for that. Try and get some hair going, and maybe you guys can learn something from that as I do. Um, Hope you've enjoyed the video. I will put links to some of the Beauty and the Beast stuff in the description. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And if you would like to see my end of the month stream, I'm planning to do Saturday and Sunday. Do my Fan Art Fusion stream. So if you want to see a character drawn in a different style, maybe you want to see what Popeye would look like if I drew him with the realistic style. Although I feel like that would be terrifying. Go ahead and leave comments in the comment section telling me what you want to see me try and draw. And end of the month I will do my Fan Art Fusion, and we'll have some fun with that. So thank you so much again for dropping by, and I will catch you all next time.